I'm sure many of you have had those weeks where you're just so busy with all the things that the last thing you want to think about is what should I make for breakfast, lunch, dinner, making sure things are available for all your family members. So today I wanted to share some of the meal prepping that we are doing for our house this week. Hey guys, and welcome back to my Practically Imperfect Life. Like many of you, I have those weeks where it's just so overwhelming with all the things going on. And there's no motivation or energy left over to try to figure out day to day, what are we going to do for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? And so before I start a really busy week like that, I like to do a little bit of meal planning and meal prepping. So today I thought I would let you join along with me while I did some of our meal prepping. Now I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of different things today. Some are going to be breakfast items that can either be eaten fresh or put in the freezer and then reheated. I'm going to have some lunch items, and then I'm going to even have some dinner meal options because we will not all be home for dinner at the same time most of this week. So I will break this video up into two parts. So today I'm going to focus on showing you some of the things that are more breakfast related. And then I will do a separate video that'll show you more of the lunch dinner option. Now, as I share recipes today, I will be sure to link them down below in the description box for you. So if you want to check them out and make them for your family, you can. All of these recipes could be adjusted based on your family size. They're very easy to double or triple. A lot of them can be stored in the freezer. So if you want to make large batches of things and then keep them for a while, you certainly can. But these are all things that have been tried and true and tested in our family and have been enjoyed by pretty much everybody. Now, if you enjoy these types of videos with the meal prepping, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing down below to my channel so you can be notified when I post new homeschooling and mom life content. So I'm going to go ahead and gather some ingredients around and we will get started.
So first up are these banana baked oatmeal cups. It's just oatmeal, cinnamon, baking powder, salt, and then I'm going to do a separate bowl that's going to have eggs, some maple syrup, and some mashed bananas in there. A little bit of vanilla, and then the recipe calls for almond milk or coconut milk, but you could really use any milk that you would prefer. It also calls for melted coconut oil, which we don't really keep in the house because we don't use it that often, so regular oil works just fine for this recipe. But essentially you're going to mix the dry ingredients together and then the wet ingredients together, then mix it all into one. You will notice that the liquid kind of separates a little bit, but that's okay. You'll see why when we put it into the muffin tins. And then of course we like to add chocolate chips to ours, just to add a little sweet bite to it. So these are meant to be baked in the oven, and then it's wonderful because you can store them in the freezer, you can eat them fresh, just lots of great ways to enjoy these.
I don't know how well it's going to show on the camera, but what we're going for here is to have like a little layer of liquid on top of the oatmeal. So when it bakes, the oatmeal actually, cooks as opposed to burns and gets crunchy. So you just want to kind of flatten them out so that way that's all doing that. And then this is going to go into the oven at 350. It's going to cook for about 30 minutes and then we will let them cool and pop them out.
Okay, so these can be stored at room temperature for a couple of days or in the fridge for a week, or if you'd like, you can wrap them individually, freeze them, and then warm them up in the microwave to enjoy.
So what's bound to happen when you're meal prepping and trying to film at the same time is that you will realize you've done a whole segment of your video without starting the camera. So I just put an egg bake into the oven. This is going to be for some frozen breakfast sandwiches. So in that egg bake, there's about a dozen eggs that I scrambled up in a bowl. I added 1/4 teaspoon of salt, pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder to it. Poured that into a 13 by 9 inch pan that I sprayed with some cooking spray. And then into that I stirred about 1.5 cups of sharp cheddar cheese. So that all just went into the oven. It's gonna cook for about 30 to 35 minutes till the eggs feel like they're set. I'm gonna pull that out and then I'm gonna let that cool in the pan. So while that is going, I will go ahead and I will get started on the next thing for those breakfast sandwiches.
So for ease, I went ahead and lined a pan with some aluminum foil, and I'm putting thick cut bacon on here. It's going to go in the oven for about 25 to 30 minutes until it's crispy. You do want to drain it on a plate with some paper towels so that way it is well drained before you assemble your sandwiches. So once the bacon is cooked and the egg bake is done, let them both cool and then you can set up your sandwich assembly. So I'm just putting strips of plastic wrap out here, and I'm going to put an English muffin on each one. These are just some multi-grain muffins. You can use whichever one you prefer. cut them in half, and then for the egg bake, you can slice it up into however many pieces you need based on how many sandwiches you're doing or how big you would like the egg piece to be. If you wanted to get fancy, of course, you could cut them into circles, but I didn't want to waste any of it since eggs are like gold now. And I'm going to put a piece of that on each of these sandwiches and then take one slice of bacon, cut it in half, and put that on each sandwich as well. So I wrap these in plastic wrap and then put them in a freezer bag to store in the freezer. You can heat these up from frozen, or you can thaw it out the night before in the fridge. Just make sure you wrap the sandwich in some paper towels before you heat it up, and if you put a cup of water in the microwave while heating, the texture of the English muffin is much better. And the last breakfast item I'm going to make are some blueberry muffins. I'm using the Kodiak protein-packed muffin mix. I just make it as the recipe directs, but I don't know about you, but I find that muffin mixes nowadays have the saddest little dried blueberries in them, so I do prefer to add more fresh blueberries to the mix. You can coat your blueberries in flour if you worry about them kind of sinking in the batter, but they did fine in these muffins. Now I also have a jumbo muffin pan that I got at Walmart for, I don't know, $7 or $8. It's nice because you can make some larger muffins that kind of remind you of the coffee shop ones you can get. Once these are done, I will keep some out fresh, but I will put quite a few in a freezer bag so that way we can pull them out at a later date, and we just microwave it for a few seconds until it's warmed up. But here are the muffins all out of the oven, and once they're cool, we'll get them stored.
All right, guys, that's it for today. Thanks so much for joining me for this video. Again, I will post all of the recipes followed today down below in the description box for you. Thanks so much for joining me. See you in the next one.